Welcome back to another edition of the 212th Men. I'm Rob Taylor, and who are you?
I'm George Bottomler.
You might be wondering why this podcast is called Louder and Clearer, because if you were unfortunate enough to actually listen to last week's podcast, the technical expertise of this duo failed massively, and you might have actually heard just myself and then murmurings of Bott in the background. I kind of felt like Kent Brockman off The Simpsons, where like someone where he started talking to his producer at the side, and he goes, "Yeah, I've got that. I'm not starting about my Danish." I felt like him. What was the reason for
that? Our technical controls. We're new to this, aren't we? And I think sometimes it really
we're struggling to embrace the camera and microphone concepts.
Yeah,
we mastered the microphones off screen, and now this kind of this mixture in this fusion we've got going on with screens and cameras can just throw our expertise to one side.
It can. And do you know what my least favorite thing in the whole podcast is?
What?
When you say I'm Rob Taylor and you are. I have to go, I'm George Bottomler.
If you forget your name,
I feel like I'm at school or something. I'm George Bottomler.
Yeah, well, that's benefits of the intro.
That's why you should always do the intro.
Anyway, how are you?
I'm good. What's
new?
Not much. We've been scrabbling around for an agenda. We're not good at this time of the year, are we?
Well, there is quite a lot of things in your wardrobe, because you've admitted to me that after years of stick about my own clothing and where I buy clothes from, you've actually raided the shelves at Charles Tyler.
Yeah, I don't.
You Wisden.
I don't give you stick about your clothing choices, and you know that.
You've always said that you thought Charles Tyler was a middle-aged man's wardrobe kind of thing.
I do, but maybe that's me embracing my age.
Well, you're not even 30 yet, so
you're
a bit way off the mark there.
Well, it depends how long you live for, doesn't it?
You know, you look like today.
Who?
Ash Ketchum.
Ash?
The guy who catches Pikachu.
No.
The Pokemon guy who turns his hat round and throws Pokeballs. You spit an image of him. You've even got the same hat on.
Oh, let's get a sponsorship with him. Yeah.
Pokemon. The money's at Pokemon.
Wisden.
That stood the test of time, hasn't it, Pokemon?
Yeah, it became...
He's like huge still now, isn't it?
Okay.
I saw a kid the other day with a Charmander top on.
Yeah.
They get the one with the flame on its tail.
Yeah. It became a hipster thing, didn't it? What was it, like Pokemon Go? I remember that when I was at uni, everyone had Pokemon Go on the phones.
No joke, there's a guy in my office, and he'd spend his lunch break in Piccadilly Gardens looking for Charizards and what's the other guy called? Bulbasaur.
It's that's metaverse stuff, that, innit?
Yeah.
I'm not into that. Did you ever have Pokemon when you were young? I
had the Game Boy Pokemon. I thought it was quite enjoyable.
Yeah,
It took ages to complete, didn't it?
Yeah, I think I might have said this on the podcast before. I didn't have a Game Boy, but my friend on holiday lent me his Game Boy.
How depressing is that?
Right, to play Pokemon, and he said, "Whatever you do, don't press new game."
Oh God!
And
you've ruined his life, haven't you?
The childlike instinct in me, I press new game, thinking, "Oh well, of course you can get one back."
Is this guy still a friend, or have you lost contact?
He was a friend for a lot longer than that. I think he still is a friend. Yeah.
Do I know him?
So I went interrailing with.
Oh right. Yeah. So clearly he got past that by the time. Yeah, we got train going through Brussels.
Yeah.
It's what sport we playing? Cricket, right?
Yes, come on. So, what's first?
Well, the IPL, and you've obviously pointed out that I sort of
you hate it.
I don't hate the IPL,
you do.
But it's I don't meet anyone in the UK that is like, fucking hell, did you see the IPL today?
Yeah,
it does pass us by as a nation. I think it's cricket in another dimension. It's so popular in India. It's so so I always tell you, the social media thing's crazy. I follow Rajasthan Royals on Instagram because they naturally have the most English teams, and I'm aware that they are top of the league after 5 games, so well played to them. But the social media stuff is crazy.
Yeah,
it's beyond any football account.
Yeah,
so its engagement is obviously quite key, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the future. It's very American, isn't it? The IPL. It's very like future.
You think it lends? It was inspired through the Major League Baseball, wasn't it? Kind of model.
Yeah, I think you can see that. It's I think it's just jarring, isn't it, to us English? We go on about it all the time, but
let me tell you what I've learned. I've seen that Rajasthan Royals are top. I know that. Look now, Super Giants are doing quite well.
Yeah.
Chennai are third, I think. Rock bottom is Mumbai Indians. Now they're quite prolific winners of this tournament.
Yeah, they are. I think them and Chennai have like a joint. Like I don't know, they've won it a lot, both of them. And Mumbai Indians, Cape Town struggled as well, didn't they? I think they've built the team around a few key players, haven't they? And they're not firing. Or some aren't even getting on the field.
So you think the consistency factors sort of like affected them, a bit like what Liverpool are going through now?
I don't know. I just think
they've sent out the same guns for a number of years, and it's getting a bit stale.
I think if you think about Premier League football, you've got 2 world-class players for every position now, aren't you? I think the IPL, you are very dependent on your 4, 5 superstars, and if you get a couple of injuries or a couple are out of form, you can have an absolute shocker of a season. So yeah.
What's to know then?
So shall I give us a little bit of a? Obviously, we look at the IPL through a very English-centric lens.
Yeah, go on, keep me awake.
Shall we have a look at the English performances?
Please, by all means.
So, Brooks scored 100.
I saw that. It was good to see him.
55 balls.
Good to see him sort of come back and sort of have a bit of a.
He had a real pop.
Yeah, stab back at the Indian fans. He must have been getting some stick, mustn't he?
Yeah, he seems quite spiky at times, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he's got like
a
bit of like a Australian nature to him. Yeah, he does give it back. I didn't know how wise it was.
A bit of a quiet boy, but clearly
I don't think he is now. Robinson's like that. A few of the new English players are like that.
It's good.
Yeah,
good. A bit of something brewing there.
So that's Brooke. Butler is just the same old Butler. I was talking to Nina's brother-in-law only over WhatsApp a couple of weeks back about Butler, and I was saying that
deleted his Pokemon game as well.
No, I didn't. Let's stay away from his Game Boy. Yeah. I was saying that he's thrown me there. Butler of all the English sportsmen over the years since we've been watching sport.
Yes,
I think Butler is one of the is top tier in terms of being world class.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
For over a longer period of time.
And actually being like a world superstar. So if I think about the footballers, like Gerrard was obviously incredible. Rooney was incredible, but Rooney kind of burnt brightly for a short period of time.
Yeah.
Gerrard never really did it on the international stage. Blah blah blah. So we were trying to calibrate him and saying, well, Lewis Hamilton, he's probably like top in our lifetime. Getting close to Schumacher. You've got people like Johnny Wilkinson.
I'm not. I won't put Johnny Wilkinson in the
and this category. This was the question of where would he put him, and I said I'd say he's just a little bit below Hamilton.
Yeah,
but he's above like the footballer kind of. I'd say he's above Rooney. He's more world class than Rooney was in football in terms.
Is he Harry Kane?
I think because he's revolution. Harry Kane is obviously a brilliant striker.
Yeah,
but Butler's revolutionised a lot of the way that we talk about.
You could take a little stab at Butler, couldn't you, in regards to Test cricket? But he's played in that sort of. His most memorable spell seems to be the COVID era, doesn't it?
Yeah,
the Australia tour, that kind of stuff.
And I think in some ways you have to split cricket up into different sports, don't you? It has different disciplines, and in the white ball stuff, he is truly world class. Like if you were putting a world class,
2 World Cup medals as well, obviously.
Yeah. If you're doing a 50 over World 11 side or a 20 over World 11 side, he's first name on team sheet, really, or one of. So
Butler's doing well as usual.
Yeah. Mark Wood, second in the wickets column, leaderboard. I think that this is one thing that kind of scares me looking for. It's really encouraging for England looking towards the 50 over World Cup in the winter. He's doing well in India, but I also think it's real kind of
hand on heart, hand in mouth, heart in mouth kind of
thing. Keep him. I won't play him in the Ashes this summer. I'd keep him fresh.
Really?
Yeah, I just think we'll win the Ashes without Wood.
But he's pleased by that, aren't he?
I don't think he bowls that well in like red ball cricket in England compared to like.
No, there's an argument for it, isn't it? I've noticed how he's that classic sort of fall over after he bowls has become trivialised amongst Indian fans.
All right. No.
Sorry, a fly's caused me some severe distress there.
Yeah,
that's not going away, is it?
He's falling over. The Indians like that.
Yeah, it's promoted like a bit of a cheer when I saw it.
Yeah, why not? Cheer at everything.
Yeah. Come on, Ash. What next?
Archer. So this is the other side of the Wood coin.
He loves the games console.
Yeah, Wood's doing really well in India. Archer is not getting on the pitch.
That elbow's being reported to be flaring up again, isn't it?
Yeah, they're trying to get him out for the 22nd of April. So when's that? The weekend.
Yeah.
They're trying to get him a game then. I'm starting to feel like Archer's career is going the same way as Tamal Mills is.
Really?
I think he's going to be a T20 specialist at best.
Depressing thought, isn't it? The fact he's not even being rolled out for a couple of overs here is worrying, isn't it?
He just doesn't play cricket, does he? Like he's a cricketer who doesn't play cricket.
Can I ask a question? If you fork out loads of money for Jofra Archer, do you get it back?
They probably have like insurance policies.
There's something wrapped around there a little bit because it's he's the premier pick, is he, when it comes to bowlers? Him and Rabada and a few others will be obviously high in that. Yeah, I mean it says a lot when an independent franchise, which will have no consideration for his English responsibilities, from international cricket. They won't be bothered about whether he's fit for the Ashes or whether that. They want their star bowler playing for their star franchise in the IPL. The fact that there's not, there's so much around, medical terms and now we can get players through the pain barriers, but he's not even being risked, is a really worrying sign, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's really unlikely that he plays a significant role in the Ashes.
Such a shame, isn't it?
It's about 6-7 weeks away now. It's not long now.
I don't want to sort of point fingers, but there was when the South African the SA20 came about, they were soon to throw him in, weren't they? First game there, bowling.
See, I go well before that in terms of point fingers. I think it was Root and Silverwood era.
Well, you think the damage was done there?
He bowled the most overs in. Did he bowl the most overs in 2019?
All bowlers.
Out of all bowlers, and he didn't start playing for England until May. So
yeah. He lit the stage, didn't he? From when he started, he's such and still is obviously an exciting talent that everyone wants to see. You pay to see Jofra Archers, don't you?
Yeah.
That spell he bowled at Steve Smith will live in everyone's memory, and everyone will always long for that. So there will always be a keenness to get him in the team.
I think it's going to be I don't know, I'm trying to a bit of a rock star moment. You could go where there was one seminal gig and you never saw that band split up, or the lead singer kind of for whatever reason kind of wasn't in the band anymore, and you never quite got back to those heights.
What worries me about this is that Tim Bresnan was interviewed about a year or so ago, and he was just coming out saying, listen, I had this injury and I never was the same again.
Yeah.
It completely ruined me.
Yeah. I think Jofra Archer watched that interview and was quite taken aback. But
Did he actually?
Yeah. I think he either tweeted or remarked about it at the time of saying, this is really depressing kind of thing. He spoke to Tim Bresnan and he made him, wonder about his career.
Yeah.
Actually, it looks like Tim Bresnan might have been onto something, but
who knows? But listen,
we don't know.
As far as Jofra's inclusion in the IPL, me and you probably couldn't care less. He's still got.
We want to see him play. To be honest, if I saw Jofra Archer play in the rest of the IPL, and then I didn't see him until in the World Cup in India, I'd be pretty happy about that. Rather than
shoehorn him into the Ashes for the sake.
And then don't see him for 2 years again.
We'll see. We still got a number of months to sort of look at fitness, so we wish him well and hope he gets better. Any others that you want to know?
And then the rest, Ali is playing for Chennai. Curran's playing for Punjab. Willie and top player at RCB. They've all had a few games. Ali's the one. What Chennai seem to do is they really pack the team with all rounders and spinners, and he suits that team down to a ground. Sometimes he bats at 3, sometimes he comes in at 7.
It's versatile.
I think Chennai sometimes use Ali better than England do.
Really?
Yeah, in terms of kind of a bit of a pinch hitter at 3. Sometimes he bowls, sometimes he doesn't. They really kind of use his versatility. I love
Chennai's ground. It's like a real cool ground.
It is. I think Punjab used to have a really good ground up near the mountains, Himalaya.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called, but Chennai's is it's iconic, really, isn't it? So then 2 men who are massive English players playing bit part roles in the IPL. So first off, Stokes.
Not seen it.
He's played 1 game.
Saw him bowling.
Not been seen since. So the same as Archer. Is there value in the English cricket captain, Test match captain, sitting on the bench for Chennai? What do you reckon?
Is there value? I don't know. There might be value in terms of that he's exposed himself to the biggest cricket tournament in the world. He's seeing all the lights. It gets him, I guess, a bit of India prep, if anything. Even if he's not playing, he's in and amongst the sort of atmosphere of all the pitches, the conditions of the game, how the twists and turns of certain pitches and certain atmospheres and certain crowds, certain Indian players that perhaps might make a push for the international side. Apart from that, it does feel a little bit like a waste of time, doesn't it?
Well, I wondered if a lot with the IPL players talk about how being around the environment, being around the best players in the world, you pick up so much information that when you come back to your international side, you're miles better.
Yeah.
Miles better financially for it, and miles better experience-wise for it.
Yeah.
Now, Stokes is in the side with MS Dhoni, seen as one of the shrewdest captains of his generation, if not all time.
Yeah.
And I wonder whether he's saying, I don't mind sitting on the bench, not playing, because I can play T20s whenever. I'm not that arsed.
Yeah.
But what I can pick up from his captaincy skills and what I could take into the Ashes from that, this might be a really good learning curve rather than me going back to Durham and playing a couple of county championship games.
Yeah.
I might pick something up there. What do you reckon to that?
Yeah. So you think he's sort of watching the master in action?
I suppose just doing a bit of benchmarking. What does MS do in this situation? How does he communicate with his players around this kind of scenario?
Butler used to frequently say in his mind, what would Dhoni do here? You know, he's batting. I think he took a lot of his finishing influence from Dhoni. So there's certainly an argument for it. I think one thing for sure, and I don't know if I don't have the plan of what the team intends to do with Ben Stokes, but we saw how integral he was in the final for England in the T20 World Cup. Are they saving the Ben Stokes for Ben Stokes moments? You don't sometimes. There's times in which he's not really featured in series, but he's featured in big moments.
Yeah,
like he wasn't throughout the Ashes in where he had that amazing moment at Headingley in the last UK Ashes. He didn't light up the series.
No,
apart from that, did he? He had some glimpses and moments, and the odd 50s and things like that. But are they savouring Ben Stokes both mentally and physically for the depths of this tournament?
Yeah,
that's one thing I thought. So when you say is the value, is he just being utilised to his main strength?
So you're saying from a Chennai perspective,
is
it better to kind of keep him under wraps? And if you're in a final, especially with the subs,
that's what I was going to say. We spoke about the subs last week on the last podcast. Of course, you had a big feature on that, so it might have just been murmurs. But we're talking about how now the IPL is introducing substitutions as a tactical sort of strategic way of winning games, and that could be one there. It's a nail biter, it's a semi-final, or it's a final.
That's a good show.
Is there any better player in the world than Ben Stokes?
Yeah, I suppose they've got two there, really, haven't they? They've got Stokes and Dhoni. If you wanted two in the crunch moments to win you a game, you've got two very good allies.
The Joe Root one, mate.
I suppose just finally, on that point around captaincy, before we move on to Root,
yeah.
Let me stop you. So I suppose what we've got written down here on the agenda is how valuable are captains. So Dhoni is currently for Chennai, keeping wicket, batting number 8. He looks like an old bloke in many ways, but they really value him. And we saw this in the back end of Morgan's career, where he didn't really bring much with the bat, but the big T20 franchises still wanted him as their captain because they saw the value. England still wanted him up until the bitter end of his career as captain because of the leadership. Do you think that is becoming more and more of a thing in T20 cricket, almost having that player manager and the value of that player manager in your captain?
Yeah, I think it absolutely is. I think these franchises, because they are franchises, are not institutions of nationality or region. Well, they are region, of course. Sorry, but you know what I mean. They're fairly new entities, aren't they, in terms of modern day cricket? I think the lean on these huge characters to almost drive a culture, and an identity of the way they intend to for the general. Like the IPL's going absolutely nowhere, is it? For decades and decades of how they play their cricket, how they act on the pitch, how they win matches. So I absolutely think that captains are huge in the IPL, as they are in cricket in general. It's probably one of the most influential captain sports there is, isn't there?
Yeah.
Football captains can pass by a little bit. Same in, well, maybe not rugby, I know, but they have a lot of technical things from in the stands, don't they? Cricket. I totally understand why they would utilise someone like Dhoni. Why they would utilise someone like Stokes.
Do you reckon we'll see that with Morgan going into the coaching aspect? Could you see that? I don't know if he'd be interested, but for Kolkata Knight Riders on the bench, could you see that for him?
Potentially, yeah. Why not? There's definitely an argument. Of course they would. Yeah, there's definitely a future there for him, isn't there?
Yeah. I don't know if he's a big type for coaching, but yeah, you could see it, couldn't you? You could see Dhoni going and sitting on the bench with Stephen Fleming for Chennai on the coaching staff. Anyway, right, Root, you want to talk about Root?
I have a real feeling, I'll put it out to any Indian listeners that we get, but do we look at Root the same way? So do Indians look at Root the same way we sort of view Tendulkar? Because when you say Tendulkar is there, clear, at the top of every leaderboard you need, 100 centuries, all that kind of thing, best ever. But if you asked a lot of Brits who the best ever was, we'd probably say Don Bradman, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
And maybe that's because Tendulkar's record in England wasn't amazing, didn't set the world alight. We've seen Joe Root carry the England Test team for God knows.
Best part of 10 years.
Best part of 10 years.
Yeah.
He continues to flourish in this new regime. He's completely reinvented his game almost to the point where he's playing shots he's never played before. He's reverse sweeping people for 6. He's playing paddle shots. He picked up his first IPL deal this year, didn't he?
Yep, for Rajasthan.
For Rajasthan Royals, so a team that harvests English talent quite a lot.
Yeah.
And we now are at a stage where he's not getting played. And I just wonder, do they just not fancy him, India? Where is the thinking behind that Joe Root is just kind of just to be put to one side?
I suppose the one thing, I'm just checking it right.
I spoke to you about this when you were making tea. You're a little bit hurt by this, aren't you?
No, I am and I'm not. I think there's a question to ask. Why is Root out there if he's not going to get a game? So yeah, he is at Rajasthan, and so is Steve Smith. So you got 2 of the greatest Test batsmen in the world right now sat on the bench for Rajasthan. Mm-hmm. Could they Could Steve Smith be preparing for the Ashes, playing for Sussex? Could Joe Root be playing for Yorkshire, preparing for the Ashes? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is that the best preparation? Yorkshire in Division 2 is probably less valuable to Joe Root as it would be for Steve Smith, because Joe Root knows English conditions. I suppose, as an English fan, it doesn't feel great, but how can you argue with the fact that Rajasthan are top of the table? They have Joss Butler, they have Trent Boult, they're playing Zampa, they've got Jason Holder as a all-rounder. We've got Chevron Hetmeyer, who's been brilliant for him this season. How can you get those other 2 players in, I suppose?
So you're saying don't change a winning team almost?
Well, their overseas players are just more T20 specialists than Joe Root and Steve Smith. And they have some good top order. Padikkal, Samson, they bat in around that area that Joe Root, Steve Smith will be playing. How do you get them in? I think maybe he's gone to the wrong franchise.
Perhaps. Was he a panic buy?
I don't think he's.
Did he go for big money, Root?
No, I doubt it. He wouldn't have gone for mega money, not like Liam Livingston, Tim David money, because he's not explosive enough. I think that's another thing. It's just a different sport.
He scores so quickly, doesn't he?
He doesn't score 100 because now it's like what's he called? Dubé, who plays for Chennai. Chevron Dubé.
Don't look at me.
Not sure about the first name. Chevron Dubé. Anyway, he's striking at like 190. Like that, 180, 170, that you want your 160s. Root's 135, 120, 135. Like he's not an elite strike rate when it comes to T20 cricket.
I just think with all the technology now behind statistics, and we know how many analysts are now in the IPL, how someone can look at Root at all formats, look at what he's won, look at his standard.
But it's not all formats.
Think about that. Well, no, but if
what you're talking about there is you're saying an analyst looking at stats, looking at all formats. Well, we don't care about other formats. And looking at his standing in the game. Well, his standing in the game isn't stats, is it?
I'm looking more at his core skills and what he can bring to it. When he stood on the wicket. Forget what he's done in a Bangladesh bilateral series. I'm thinking it's Joe Root. There's 27, 28 test tons here.
I think.
Can you not utilise that into your squad?
I think, but what you're saying there is you're talking about legacy. You're talking about standing. You're talking about talent. And then you're saying an analyst looking at it and the science looking at it. The analyst and the scientist is saying, right, well,
hit it hard and hit it long.
Strike rate. How many do you convert into 4s and 6s?
But there's been stats around that, hasn't there? How a lot of analysts have pointed towards the value of an anchor, hasn't there? Which is why Kane Williamson has been so well rewarded.
Yeah, Dawood Malone's done a really good job at that. In
T20s. They got an anchor.
Yeah, they do have a good top order, Rajasthan. They have good Indians.
Basically, they've got too much money and they've splashed out on Joe Root, sold a few shirts, and now he's on the bench.
You got Smith and Root on the bench selling shirts.
Not bad, is it?
2 of the best players in the world.
Yeah, take each other's brains.
Yeah, you've got some good players to come in if anyone gets injured. It is what it is, I suppose.
Where do players like? Well, before we go on to next, where do players like Steve Smith and Joe Root value the IPL besides a paycheck? Because I reckon this won't be as painful to them as we think.
See, I think
their minds must both surely be on the Ashes.
Yeah, I think their minds will be on the Ashes. I think it obviously is a good paycheck, and you don't
turn it down.
No one would turn it taken, and you don't judge anyone for taking the paycheck.
Not at all.
It's unquestionable. But I think there's an ego thing there as well for your Roots and your Smiths. It's because they're the best in the world at Test cricket, 50 over cricket.
Mm-hmm.
IPL is seen as the best platform in the world for T20. They do want to go and prove themselves there. It does wind them up that they're not in those sides. I think it will frustrate them.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that the analysts and the coaches obviously don't see them as valuable. It's a changing sport.
Okay. Have you got a question for me this week?
So, Bott's big question of the week.
Okay.
So we've seen in the news this week that Ben Stokes has been named Wisden's leading men's cricketer for the third time.
Mm.
Only 2 people have done this since the start of the award, which was in 2003. King Kohli and Ben Stokes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if this is a good thing or a bad thing. Is this an amazing reflection? Is Ben Stokes a good enough player to win that award 3 times? Or is Test cricket just getting to a stage now where only 3 nations play it, really? And you just end up giving it to one of an Australian, an Englishman, or an...
You're very, very keen to pick holes in Ben Stokes' tendency, aren't you?
Ben Stokes isn't Jack Callis.
Well, no, clearly not.
So if I go back to like 2010 to 2000...
Jack Kelly's captain?
No, but this isn't best captain.
Oh, right, you're thinking...
Wisden's leading men's cricketer.
Yeah. You say that, but Stokes is seriously decorated with what he's done in the game.
So I can tell you, 2019, he should have won it. He wins. He does that Headingley thing. He wins the World Cup.
The picture literally to your right side.
Yeah.
Champagne super over.
Yeah, exactly. You can see that there. If you're watching on YouTube. I can understand 2019. I can kind of understand this year of his captaincy.
Mm-hmm.
However, I don't know when he won it another time, but 3 times for Ben Stokes. What I'm saying is, in those years of 2005 to 2015, you've got Ponting, Callis, Shander Paul, Lara.
Yeah, there's been some good players.
On and on.
Mm-hmm.
And is that depth reducing? Who's your West Indian leading player of the year? Who's your South African these days, if you're pointing one?
Rabada.
But how often does he play kind of Test cricket?
A lot.
World class Test cricket. How often does Rabada play world class Test cricket?
That we have to make our peace with.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not the same level. I think.
So I'm asking: is Ben Stokes a worthy winner of this award 3 times? Maybe, but is it more a sign that of the way that Test cricket's going, it's a reducing?
So should we focus on his recent nomination, because that'll be based on what he's doing at the minute, which will probably favour your argument a little bit more.
Go on.
So I disagree. Reasons being, yes, okay, opposition's minor what they used to be, but the record is undeniable how good it is. 1 loss in all those games.
Yeah.
Most importantly, I think the biggest thing is the contrast, because he finds ways to win in times where other captains probably wouldn't have won.
Yeah.
So would you, in Pakistan, do you think a Joe Root Test side would have won that Test series?
No.
Would they have been beat by New Zealand at home? Potentially.
Maybe.
And then South Africa, you could argue, might get away with that one. With the sort of way those Test matches panned out with a very bowling heavy. But I guess what I'm trying to say there, it's not just what you see on the pitch and the ways he's found to win. It's the influence he's made on other people. We've seen other performances around him rise up. Brendan McCullum has to take a lot of that credit as well. But I think it's another chapter of the wonder of Ben Stokes, isn't it? You name them there, Headingley. You look at the World Cup triumphs. You look at the where he is now, where he's taking the direction he's taking his Test team on. I think it's justified.
I think it goes back to that question we asked earlier in the pod: is how valuable are captains? Because this is a very captaincy-based award. He didn't have many memorable performances with the bat or ball last year. Like most of last summer, he just plinked up in the air.
Yeah. But carefree, wasn't it? It was a little bit like
Bairstow was incredible.
Kind of
Root was incredible. But Stokes was an incredible leader and showing them the way kind of thing. But he didn't, as a player, if he wasn't captain and doing those captaincies, captain in the way that he was, he was just a player, you'd be thinking, he's not struggling, but he wasn't brilliant. He wasn't the leading men's cricketer. He was good. He was really good. He obviously won the T20 World Cup, but
I think the T20 World Cup was a big one because the counter you'll make is that is Test cricket not the same level it was, whatever 5-10 years ago. You could argue that T20 is now optimal prime time where it's better than ever and it's strong and a lot of teams writing up themselves. I think what you could say is that there was at that tournament there was at least 5 teams that thought they could probably win this.
Yeah.
I think after the first couple of games, South Africa were looking really strong, weren't they? India and Pakistan had high expectations. Australia were the home nation. England, we know, are strong. And, even some of the associate nations were there coming to the table, weren't they, and beating people. So the level of competition in that tournament, in that format of the game, is now at a very strong and unquestionable level. And he's turned up in that format and been an absolute integral part in us winning it. The Sri Lanka game got us over the line there.
Yeah.
And obviously the final itself.
Yeah.
I think this is a concluded argument.
Yeah. You win. Well done. Wisden.
Thank you.
Good appointment.
Charles Tyrwhitt and whiskey for me.
Yeah. I was thinking who would...
Be careful you now with the Charles Tyrwhitt around. Might strip it off me.
Yeah, I know. We need a sponsorship with the amount of conversation we've done on these shirts.
They are high quality shirts, I must admit. I'm an avid wearer of them. Should we have a little bit of a look around
These are your subjects.
Yeah.
What's in the news?
Do you want news first, or do you want
a little bit of a look? In the news?
What's in the news? So I've got a couple of things to talk to you about, Bott, because I know that I am a bit more closer to our pals in the media, particularly the social media. But I also read the journals as well, because you're a bit of a TV junkie, aren't you? So,
what are the journals?
Journals like newspapers, isn't it?
Is it?
But
is it 1920s?
Well, it's all digital these days, isn't it?
Right.
So you can get any paper or any sort of extract.
Reading the journals. Come on, get your journals.
Yeah. So, did you know that Candice Warner, the spouse of David Warner, has a consistent sort of gig on a sports sort of panel where she discusses it, and she was challenged a bit by one of the Aussie sort of co-hosts there a bit about how if this sort of doldrum period David Warner's under, is he at risk of being dropped?
Yeah,
she's countered back there and kind of said that, well, if Dave doesn't perform in the first 2 tests, there's no one you could bring in that's better. Where do you sit on the Warner situation? And I'll tell you where I sit.
I think Warner gets dropped halfway through this Ashes.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do. Because I think Harris came in Pakistan and opened the batting, didn't he? And he did well. I think Harris is, if they try and go Bazball versus Bazball and try and match us game for game, I could see Harris and Khawaja being the opening bat in the third Ashes.
We're going to a few tests this year, aren't we?
Yeah.
I want one last dance from David Warner. That's not performances. Yeah. I want the David Warner that I grew to hate.
Yeah.
Hate/love. Yeah. Because I love the fact that I hate him. I want to hate him. I want
Pantomime villain.
I want him jarring at people. I want him like a little Rottweiler.
Yeah.
Going around winding people. I want that David Warner. And I think there's a lot to be said there about obviously his lack of form. He's coming to the end of his career. Didn't he get like a dogged sort of 100 in the last Australia home series? I'm pretty sure he did. Where he walked off the field with cramp.
Yeah, and he's getting a lot of dogged.
So there's life in him still, isn't
He's getting a lot of 40s and 50s at the moment for, I think he's at Delhi at the moment. Don't hold me to that.
He was always at Hyderabad, was he, with Bairstow?
Yeah, he's not there now. I think he's moved on. But whoever he's playing for at the moment, he's getting lots of dogged scores.
Mm-hmm.
But he looks like Finch did. Remember when Finch, it just looked really hard work.
Yeah.
And it was kind of over. And he could get an half score, but he couldn't really do it anymore. Morgan looked the same. He looks like a bit of a spent force, and I think that if England start, we expect them to start the Ashes.
Yeah.
Really in Australia's face, winning a couple of games. I think that
Broad will be eyeing him up, won't he?
Broad will be eyeing him up. Robinson isn't bad to left-handers. Archer, if he plays, I know he's probably warm.
Anderson's very rarely off the ball.
England like bowling at left-handers.
Can you sort of bank on Anderson bowling well this series? Because I think I can.
Yeah. Unless
I just don't see how he doesn't just turn up with his same act.
If he's fit, he doesn't really. He just performs in England, doesn't he? It's just expected. He'd do it till he was 60. But I think that Warner will. They'll sacrifice Warner as the first blow if they start to struggle.
Interesting. Did you see that Zach Crawley's average in county cricket is now below 30? Before you answer this, there's a real sort of drive, I think, from the county cricket loyalists on Twitter, where this now is seemed to be the deciding factor of why he should be removed from the side immediately, and should be then replaced by someone who is hitting heights in county cricket. Now, traditionally and conventionally, that does make sense.
Yeah.
I think the hard truth amongst all this is I don't think Brendan McCullum actually cares one bit who's scoring runs in county cricket.
Yeah, it's like what we asked last week is like, is there any point in the county championship at the moment? Like, can anyone actually get into that side who isn't already in this?
I think Ben Stokes made that pretty clear, didn't
he?
What did he say? I think I could probably pick you 18 names now.
Yeah. I think I can understand the frustration from county fans because there's players like Ben Compton, who's averaging like 60 across the last couple of years in first-class cricket, churns runs out for fun, opens the batting with Crawley, makes Crawley look amateurish when you look at the scorecards.
Yeah.
However amateurish he might look on the scorecards, Crawley, when he smashes it through the covers, looks like the best player in the world. And there is that kind of balance with Crawley. I think it will soldier on and will die a death when they find a better replacement.
They really back him. They really fancy him, don't they? They see the value in him. To be honest, I see value in Zach Crawley.
Yeah.
You do as well, don't you?
I think with the way that Stokes is going, Stokes has started really well. Got a century.
Yeah. You'll still drop him, won't you? Listen, let's not get into that. That's boring. But the way I see it happening, Bott, is I think you'll see a familiar opening pattern to what we've seen in the recent Test series. So I think Duckett and Crawley will start.
Yeah.
I don't think Bairstow will start. I think they'll keep him in the wings and introduce him slowly throughout the series. And Stokes will play as the wicketkeeper. That is my view.
I think it depends how Bairstow, when he gets fit, how he performs.
Yeah.
The one kind of what's it called? Conspiracy doing the rounds at the moment is that Stokes might open.
Right.
And I could see that. I know
Where have you heard that from?
So Wisden Yas Rana is quite big on that.
Right. Big on the idea or big on the
Big on the idea.
Okay.
And they were making the point, I think correctly making the point, that one, Brendan McCullum opened batting later on in his Test career.
So you think there might be a bit of nudging going on there?
Wasn't phased about it.
Like that.
Yeah, like that. It's really annoying. And two, Stokes has kind of what they were saying was Stokes has sacrificed himself for the cause.
Yeah.
In every other, as we were saying, plinking it up in the air and walking off just to prove a point.
Yeah.
He might.
Think this gives him freedom. Yeah. That role.
And if he can't bowl, it's actually quite a good idea.
While we're on McCullum, do you know that he's to face no further action over involvement in a betting company, 2022 Bet.
Yeah.
Or 22 Bet, should I say. He appeared in online adverts and he became an ambassador in January. I don't know about you, but I look at this and go like, surely, they'd collar that from the start, wouldn't they? Is that a severe error of misjudgment?
I don't think.
Is it even matter that much?
It's just an internal thing, and it is in the sense of the ECB probably have internal policies, don't they? You're not allowed to be involved in X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
If you are, you need to declare it.
Yeah.
McCullum might not have declared it. They've missed it in the due diligence. Everyone holds their hands up and says, right, this is an error. Are you going to stop working with them? Yeah, you stop working with them. Or are we going to let you continue to work with them? It's a bit of a class. It's just a bit of a HR. It's
non-story, innit?
It tells you that it's been a bit of a slow news day recently in cricket.
I recall him being quite into horse racing, Brendan McCullum.
Him and Owen Morgan are big on it, aren't they?
So you can see why he's quite, if you're in cricket terms, quite a recognisable face.
Betting's rife sport, bloody hell. I bet there's some betting adverts around ECB grounds.
I'm not going to worry till he's sat on Lord's balcony with a bookie's pencil, filling an accumulator. That's when we need to worry.
Yeah.
Gary Balance has retired from cricket.
I saw that this afternoon when I was coming home.
He had a bit of a renaissance, didn't he, going back to his Zimbabwe roots.
Yeah.
But it appears that's not. He said he just doesn't feel the love for the game anymore.
Yeah.
And he's been through a few off-field matters, which I don't think have helped.
Yeah, obviously he was involved in the Azim Rafiq allegations. He did apologise for him, didn't he? I think he was one who did apologise to Azim.
It was a recognised apology, I believe, wasn't it?
Yeah, and so obviously he's had quite a lot of off-field stuff to deal with. And I think that aside, what I always found with Gary Balance is it was a great shame that he couldn't convert, when he came in 2011, really 2013, good, that time.
Prime to slot into that team.
I think he scored 300s really early on. He looked like he was going to be number 3 for a long time. And then he kind of got worked out with his technique and then never kind of came back to it.
But been a real stalwart in county cricket.
Scored a lot of runs. Big first-class average.
Yeah.
So, it's just one of those things. Some people, it doesn't work out for everyone, but had a good county career, though.
Last couple of bits from me, but Haseeb Hameed, who's obviously a fellow Boltonian, known him since from a young age. He spoke a little bit about how his faith and just connecting with that has allowed him to sort of get over that kind of really difficult period he had, I think, coming into the side for the India home series and the Ashes. Me and you obviously have been familiar with this guy from when we were younger days in the Bolton League. My dad played with his brother quite a bit, but he was always a freakish kid, wasn't he, in talent-wise, in terms of how good he was. We were obviously a couple of years on him. He was standalone the best young kid in the league at the cricket system at the time, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So it's good to see him sort of coming back and kind of find himself again. There's still a good career there, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what the one thing about. Obviously, when he came into India, he was still a teenager when he was playing in that Indian Test.
Yeah, was recognised by Tendulkar, wasn't he? Him and his dad,
Kohli was obviously having a chat with him, and now what would he be? We're 29. We're talking there like 26, 26. So in cricketing terms, batting wise, you've got 10 years left there.
Definitely.
Jonathan Trott only came into the Test side and had a brilliant Test career. Yeah. He came in at like 29.
It could have just been a bit too soon for Haseeb.
Yeah.
He had a spell where Lancashire was wasn't going quite right. He then found another county, found runs again, and I think the selectors at the time, it was no runs are being scored with it across the board. It was the temptation to throw him in there because of the past really good start he'd had.
And I think he's one of those players that he's got a little bit. I mean, he's not similar to Crawley in terms of technique and stuff, but you do
there's an admiration there.
There's an admiration. You want him to do well. When I last week I tuned in and watched a little bit of his innings on YouTube when Nottingham were playing, and there's kind of a nice dovetail between him and Duckett. They obviously played the game very differently. It seems like Haseeb's trying to play a few more shots these days than when he was playing for England in the Silverwood era, trying to take on this more adventurous, aggressive approach.
Duckett could be a really good role model there, because I watched Duckett interviewed in Pakistan, I think it was.
Yeah.
And he came away and said, look, I'm a genuine better player than when I was last in the England setup. Going away in county cricket, mastering my technique, going in different leagues, playing different formats has really allowed myself to come back, and then I'm much more better prepared now.
And interestingly, they've had quite similar careers in that sense that I think when Haseeb started in India, Bangladesh, went on those tours.
Yeah.
They were Duckett's first tours as well. And then they've both gone away into the county sides, whatever you call it, whatever the word, system, thank you. And then kind of reinvigorated the careers. They've had a second chance at it. Duckett's taken his chance. Haseeb's gone back into the county system. You get a couple of chances, it's not all or nothing, is it?
Yeah.
It's about the way you do things sometimes. Yeah.
Sure. Lastly, and this one was actually from February, did you know that they are going to be using the Kookaburra Ball in 2 rounds of the county championship this year?
Yeah, I have seen that. I think that's a good idea.
It's a good idea, but it kind of flaws what Labuschagne and Smith are doing, isn't it? If they're going to be using Kookaburras, and then we throw them in there with a Duke's ball, it probably won't work in that order. They'll probably factored it in so they get some Duke's ball exposure. But the bigger picture for English cricket hopefully means us better performing overseas, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think
the Kookaburra is heavily used, isn't it? South Africa, I think it's used in West Indies. I think it's used in Australia, New Zealand, I'm guessing as well.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think we need to be more adventurous, don't we, with county championship and preparation.
Yeah,
use it as kind of a bit of a learning platform. Yeah, love it. I know we've got another thing then on the agenda here, but I reckon it might be
give it a miss.
Getting time, yeah.
No, fair enough. We'll be back. Obviously, the IPL is going to continue. The sun's out now. It's poking through Bott's attic window.
Yeah.
So that means cricket season is very much on the way. Thank you very much for joining us. Keep a lookout for all of our interviews. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Spotify if you don't do already. Anything from you?
Nothing from me.
We've been the 212th Men. I'm Rob Taylor. He's George Bottomley. We'll see you next week.
Cheers.